The Imperial Palace of China lies in the center of the ancient city of Beijing, the country's capital, and is one of the most important places in Chinese history. Besides having an outstanding architecture, it was also the country's political center for a long time, symbolizing the power and sovereignty of the Chinese emperors. They resided there from the Ming Dynasty until the Qing Dynasty in 1911. This is exactly why the complex city is known as the Forbidden City, since only the emperor, his family, and a few employees or other appointed officials had access to it. However, these restrictions have now changed, and the Forbidden City can be visited. It is one of the most attractive places for visitors to the Chinese capital. The Imperial Palace of China was first built in 1406 when the third monarch of the Ming Dynasty, Yongle, was emperor. The fortress had 1 million workers involved in its construction, but only finished after 14 years. Upon its completion, a colossal complex of 720,000 square meters and 800 buildings emerged, while just over 8,000 rooms spread over the vast complex. It was a true city located inside another, meant only for the emperor, his family, officials, and a few other people. In total, 24 Chinese emperors lived there. Its architecture and ornamentation are especially impressive and lavish. The foundation for the palace construction was feng shui, or feng shui in Mandarin, a classical Chinese millennial art that, among other aspects, strives for harmonizing the surroundings. One curious aspect is that the design of the Forbidden City represents the universe. In honor of the sun, its main buildings are turned south. Another mythological reference is reflected in the construction of the Forbidden City. The story goes that the deities would inhabit a building composed of a total of 10,000 rooms, and for this reason, the Forbidden City would have 9,999 rooms, so that men would not be equal to the gods. After the construction was finished, the Great Palace was sealed off. No one was allowed to enter the complex, and a great protection was put up around it. A huge wall, 3.4 kilometers long and 10 meters high, was built to protect the palace. Also, for protection, a water-filled moat 52 meters wide was built around the palace. Consequently, for 5 centuries, with all this care and some limitations, the Forbidden City served as the home of the Chinese emperors. The complex continued to be inaccessible, unknown, and restricted to the population. However, in 1911, the situation began to change. It was during this time that the Chinese Revolution took place. Later, in 1925, the ancient tradition of the place changed. On October 10th of that year, the world-famous Imperial Palace was turned into a museum and finally opened to the public. It has since become a place that enthralls people from all over the world and is one of the top tourist spots in all of China. Nevertheless, there was a threat to the treasures of the site in 1933. Due to the Second Sino-Japanese War, the artifacts of the Forbidden City were moved out of the site, first to Nanjing and then to Shanghai. However, the city came under threat, and once again, the objects were evacuated, this time in 3 different batches sent to different locations. Ultimately, after great efforts by the Chinese government to protect these historical assets, the pieces arrived safely in Sichuan, or Sichuan in Mandarin. The Japanese broke in and took the Forbidden City, but did not cause any significant damage to the site. Even with these difficulties, and with all the uncertainty and danger brought by World War II, the artifacts were saved and well preserved. Some of the many rooms in this massive complex stand out. One is the famous Hall of Imperial Peace, an area dedicated to the water goddess Xuan Wu. There is also the Hall of Supreme Harmony, seated in front of a large square, especially important for ceremonies and audiences. This is where you will find the famous Dragon Throne, where the emperor would sit and announce his decisions. Another important room is the Ceramics Gallery, with a total of 429 pieces of ceramics, which formerly served as a collection of writings known as the Hall of Literary Glory. There is also the splendid Special Garden, a gorgeous place surrounded by trees and flowers, especially designed for relaxing moments. There was also the Palace of Heavenly Purity, where for a time the Emperor and Empress lived. A throne has been preserved and kept at the site. The Imperial Palace Museum is another important room as it houses more than 1 million cultural relics. In 1987, due to its historical and cultural importance, the Forbidden City was declared a World Heritage Site. Today, the massive palace can welcome up to 50,000 visitors per day, making it one of the most visited places in China.